famous speech of the British Prime Minister Winston Churchill. "I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears and sweat," inspired the British soldiers. Let's take such an instance from the life of the famous President of America, Abraham Lincoln. While he was young, he was called by his darling abbreviation Abe. So let's see what was Abe's first speech was about. Once, one of the ever greatest statesmen of America, Abraham Lincoln, and his friend Dennis Hanks attended a political meeting while they were young. Both the boys were not impressed by the presentation or ideology of the campaigner. Then Dennis Hanks asked Abraham Lincoln to make another speech, and he also inspired him, "You could make a better delivery of speech." Accordingly, Abraham Lincoln mounted on a dry box and delivered a speech. It attracted the attention of the public and won him applause. This had helped him a lot in his later life. This was the case of many great later orators like Mahatma Gandhi and Bernard Shaw. It's a fact, every living being is extremely fond of their lives, but do they live their lives up to the expectation?
See, the proverbs and sayings like "where there is a will, there is a way," "necessity is the mother of invention," are still relevant in certain phases in our life.
Well, a fear of failure makes man weaker, and he fails to perform the work he is capable of doing. Life becomes a burden for such people.
Do we have any such instances to cite to make our student community aware of their ability? Normally, our youth have a kind of reluctance or starting trouble. Once they overcome it, they can be sky high.
Well, the Irish novelist and short story writer Liam O Flaherty's short story titled "His First Flight" is a vivid exposition of how timely support and encouragement help an individual recognize his own innate ability.
By the way, how does the story progress? Who are the characters in it?
Well, the central character in the story, his first flight, is a little seagull, which was full of pessimism and was scared of flight and not confident about its ability. Even though its parents and siblings encouraged it, the seagull was reluctant to act. Finally, when hunger and thirst became irresistible, the seagull forgot its fear and readied to fly and recognized its own ability. Now let's see how the story progresses.
The First Flight by Liam O Flaherty is an exquisite story of how timely encouragement helps anyone to rise to the occasion and come up in life. The story is presented in the form of a parable with a valuable message that 1,000 miles journey starts with a single step. If one doesn't take the first single step, he can never complete his journey. In this bird parable, a young seagull is a central character. It was very scared of flying. All its younger siblings, in spite of their much shorter wings, flew fearlessly, while it could not gather the courage to believe its own wings. The young seagull became sad when he saw his parents perfecting his younger siblings at the art of flying. His parents scolded and made fun of him for not even trying to fly. They called him a coward. They encouraged him a lot, at least to make an attempt, and also threatened to leave it alone and hungry if it does not obey them. The following day, it was left alone, and upon feeling hungry, it tried to seek the attention of his family members. Only his mother, who was flaking a fish in an attempt to eat it, noticed her little one. The young seagull cried out of starvation, hoping its mother would help. On seeing his mother coming to it with a fish, it got excited. But on noticing that his mother stopped midway, it got maddened out of hunger and took a dive at the fish, forgetting for a moment that it was afraid to fly. Finally, the little seagull took its first flight. All the family members celebrated its victory by cheering and dancing around it. He also attempted at floating in the sea that he was once afraid of. Thus, he overcame its fear and realized that it was its attitude that blocked his ability. Now we are going to the lesson, His First Flight by O Flaherty. Now, in the story we come across a young bird that is afraid to fly for the first time. He believes that his wings would not support him. Now, his younger siblings, they were flying fearlessly with much shorter wings, but he could not gather the courage to do the same. He was punished to stay if he did not try. And it was his mother that compelled him to fly by using food as a trap. So this lesson reflects how one hesitates to take the first step, and that fear is all in the mind. This is what we find. The bird is very much scared of its flight. And one should trust one's abilities, because the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself. So children, you might have seen a seagull. Okay, it is a bird that lives near the sea. It has short legs with long wings, and the feathers are like white and grey colored feathers it has. Now, the young seagull was alone on his ledge. His two brothers and his sister had already flown away the day before. He had been afraid to fly with them. Somehow, when he had taken a little run forward to the brink of the ledge and attempted to flap his wings, he became afraid. The great expanse of the sea stretched down beneath, and it was such a long way down, miles down. He felt certain that his wings would never support him. So he bent his head and ran away back to the little hole under the ledge where he slept at night. Now, the author tells a story, Liam tells a story of a young seagull who is at a stage of life where he has to learn to fly. So unlike his younger brothers and sisters, he is too afraid to fly. They have all gone the day before. They have gone to hunt for food. So when all of them went for flying, for the first time near the edge of the sea, all of them except him succeeded. That is, he could not fly. Everybody else, his brothers and sisters, his mother, father, everybody, they went out to hunt for their food. So he could not trust his wings. That is why, because he was frightened, he was terrified. Why? He was terrified by the vast sea, and he got convinced that he could never fly. So when he had a feeling that he could not fly, he was very much ashamed, he was very much disheartened. And so he went inside the ledge where he usually slept. He did not fly at all.